welcome to a bonus episode of How We Made Your Mother. These are the episodes that we call General Questions.
General questions.
It's getting better.
It never links up.
No, I think it's getting better.
It's getting better.
I think it's the internet that messes us up. We're good. It's technology.
It's us. If we were in the same room together, we would never miss these. We're answering questions today about episode 8 from season 1 of How I Met Your Mother, the episode called The Duel. Just a quick refresher. It's when there's 3 plot lines. It's Lily's apartment has been turned into a Chinese restaurant in Queens. Ted and Marshall have a sword fight to determine who gets the apartment after Marshall and Lily get married. And Barney does his best to start a thing called the Lemon Law, which is within the first 5 minutes of a date. If you don't want to carry on with it, you just call Lemon Law and everyone's free to go. Is that right, Craig?
That's right. Well done. Very succinct.
So the episode aired a couple days ago or was posted a couple days ago, so you could listen to that and then come back for our general questions.
General questions.
I think it's you, Alec, that's messing this up.
Definitely not.
No. The inventor of the game can't even... Alec invented this.
Alec invented this. I stole this from Alec unabashedly.
I'm going to edit it so that it seems like
that you're the problem and you're great.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you can achieve that, but okay.
I can.
You'll add some other people that are doing it right with you.
So what do we got, Alec? What did people want to know about this episode?
We got a bunch of questions here. We have some audio I'm going to play for you. It's very exciting, just about the duel. I think you guys are going to love this. But I'm going to read this one note here from Instagram because, Josh, early on you had talked about the idea of this show being a dialogue with us and the fans, with you and the fans. And I want to make that so where we got a question from a fan, we responded to it, then they responded to our response to it. And I want to read that to you. And then if you like, you could just talk to them too, and we can just make it for this person.
All right.
So
our inaugural follow-up question.
Yeah. So not even a question, just really lovely. Bri For You Go asked the question about the old websites, all the websites that were on the show that we used to buy the URLs and you used to make the fake websites, and now they're gone. But one piece of information, we've gotten a few of them back. We are now the owners of a few of them, and we'll get to that another time. But Bri For You Go says, I just want to say thank you so much for using and going above and beyond answering my question about the websites. I never expected you to choose it, much less go as far back as you will to try to bring them back. That would be so legendary. I still can't believe my question made it to your episode. You're all so amazing and never cease to bring joy to me and so many others. I left a comment on YouTube as well, but I want to express how unbelievably honored and shocked I was when Alex said my name. I may or may not have cried just a little. These podcast episodes have been the highlight of my week, and I cannot be happier about them and the love you guys are spreading. I know you've heard it over and over by now, but it doesn't make it any less true that How I Met Your Mother changed my life and has supported me through the toughest times. I couldn't even begin to express my excitement and gratitude for everything you're doing and will be doing. Thank you so much. Sending so much love from my dad and me in Florida.
This guy's basically a co-host at this point. We've read so many.
I don't need to be here anymore. This is
so
great.
many letters from him.
It's great.
Yeah.
This is a conversation, right? This whole thing's a conversation.
Yeah.
That's the best part of this. We love that part of this. So thank you.
Craig, what were some of Alec, you might know too. I remember Barney Stinson is a jerk.com, right?
Ted Mosby is a jerk.
Oh, no, it's Ted Mosby is a jerk.
You're not getting out of this one.
Ted Mosby is a jerk.
There were a lot.
I got him. You ready?
Did you do a rate my teacher for Ted? Like, didn't he have,
I think
wasn't he obsessed with his ratings?
Yeah, I think we did that.
I got it for you. You ready?
Okay.
Yeah.
Barney's blog, tedmosbyisajerk.com. Ted Mosby is not a jerk.com.
See?
Yes, I started that one.
Lily and Marshall sell their stuff.com. CanadianSexActs.org. NotAFathersDay.com. StinsonBreastReduction.com. ItWasTheBestNightEver.com. Puzzles the Bar. Goliath Bank. Marshall and Lily's Party. They Miss Their Friends. Mysterious Dr. X. Barney's Video Resume. BigBusinessJournal.com. Lorenzo von Matterhorn.com. Wedding Bride Movie. Grade My Teacher. Linson Breast Lawsuit. The Slap Bet Countdown, Lily and Labor, Hey Nanny Nanny, Bro Bribs, and Dude Aprons.
Pro bibs. Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot is the point.
Well, what was
we did
fun,
not hold on to them all.
What was fun, and then again, you guys created something outside of the confines of the 24-minute episodes where people could go to another source and it really rewarded your go get them, the fact that you would actually go to the site. Not that it's hard to look up a website, but it was a bit newer of a treasure hunt back then.
It was in 2005, 2006. Yeah, like it was. And it was like this secret handshake to the fans to be like, if you're clever enough to go look at this, we will give you more content. There will be sort of more show there for you. There will be more of this universe there for you. And it just creates that feeling, even though, it's not a documentary, that somehow the world of the show is real or extends beyond like CBS.
And you're
Monday
a part
night
of it.
For a half hour.
You're a part of it.
Yeah. That's what we loved about it.
Yeah.
And Barney's blog was every week. The amazing writer assistants and script coordinators on How I Met Your Mother would write these great Barney blog entries and did for years and years and years. And you can look, I think, all of them up. Do we still have that one, Alec? Is that one still up explicitly, or has it been recapitulated? You can find those entries somehow. I know that. I don't remember if it's like literally still up in the way that it was, but they did brilliant writing on that. So.
Craig, that's also like such a great avenue. Like a lot of writers' assistants and script coordinators like are just they're taking notes and compiling scripts, and there's a lot of kind of like grunt work, like new hire grunt work in it. But to actually hand them like a comedic piece and let them hone their comedic voice, like that's awesome that you guys
not only that, it became like an audition to become a writer on How I Met Your Mother, because these wonderful, very talented, young, scrappy, and hungry writer assistants, script coordinators would take that assignment and say, I'm going to prove myself kind of with this, and write this great material. And a lot of them got promoted to become writers on the show. Some of them stayed, like Matt Kuhn, who was writing those types of things for like Barney's blog and different things. He graduated into being a many season writer for How I Met Your Mother. Fantastic dude, fantastic writer. All the way up to co-EP, I think, at the end, and along the way wrote all of
the playbook, and
he wrote the Bro Code book, Bro on the Go, the playbook. He wrote all those books. That all began by a writer's assistant being like, putting up his hand, like, I'll write some funny Barney blog entries, and the episode would spark some idea. They would write it. We'd give them some notes or a little bit of feedback, but mostly it was just like amazingly talented people who wanted to prove themselves. And
it's almost like comedy writers, but really all writers on TV shows, or you're almost like an impressionist, like Rich Little or something, but you're doing the voice of Barney. Like, can you inhabit the consciousness of this psycho guy?
Yeah. Inhabit it and expand it in your own way too. That's the best.
And be in on the joke and have it be funny and knowing and winking, and like it's a deep assignment actually to write that kind of way. Yeah. Well,
and who more qualified than the writer's assistant that's hearing everything, the creation of the show every day. Yeah. And it's really, I'm very proud of how amazing our writer's assistants and script coordinators were, and rising through the ranks and being great writers on the show.
Alec, what are the sites you've gotten back?
I can tell you right now, we are now the owners of Marshall and Lily's Party.com, theymisstheirfriends.com, and bigbusinessjournal.biz. I will unfortunately say that all of the others are owned by someone. We don't know who. We can't quite see registered who. Some of them are immediately for sale for thousands and thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Others, you can pay a service to go figure it out. So, hey, if anyone knows anything, let us know. I will tell you now.
This has now become the central mystery of this podcast. Who owns and is extorting us for thousands of dollars to get these back? And can you, much like donating a stolen Van Gogh to a museum, can you please return Ted Mosby is a jerk and Ted Mosby is not a jerk?
Barney Stinson's breast reduction website is a Van Gogh. That's what we're saying. It is a precious Van Gogh.
It's a timeless artifact.
It's a timeless artifact. Lorenzo Van Matterhorn. I mean, come on. These can't be lost to the sands of time.
Yeah. Please write to us through the website. By the way, if you go to barneysblog.com, I guess that was the website. Barneysblog.com. Well, it takes you to the CBS main page right now.
And that's it. And it's not all up there.
I'm learning all about NCIS origins.
This is the problem. It was through CBS at the time, but if CBS was sort of leasing How I Met Your Mother, right? It was a different studio. The studio was what is now Disney, and it was sort of 20th/Disney. And CBS paid to air the show for those years, and then when it went off of there, CBS didn't own the show, and a lot of these websites, or they spoiled that one especially because it was through CBS, kind of went bye-bye, and that sucks. But I wonder if we can somehow recapitulate all of those Barney's blogs and just at least get those up in the world on our own little proprietary website that we own and name, because there's so much good writing in there, done by years and years worth of amazing How I Met Your Mother writer assistant script coordinator. So
and you still have all of it? You still have it all?
That's a great question. I think between all of us writers and all of the people that wrote them, and Matt Kuhn and George Sloan and Jenny Hendricks and all of these really talented people that wrote them and worked on them, I feel like we could recapitulate it. Yeah. And I think a lot of them have been, I think fans have kept them alive on various sites too. So if anybody has compiled all of those and has them sitting around in convenient form, we welcome you sending it to us. And we are not going to pay you anything for it.
No,
just
but our undying gratitude. Yeah.
But our undying gratitude.
And we'll mention your name somewhere. I mean, if you're an extorter, maybe we won't. But if you just generously leave a package on our doorstep.
If all you're extorting us for is the name mentioned, then yes, we'll do it. Then you'll successfully extort us.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you in New York City.
We'll be right back.
We are going to say goodbye to Josh for 2 weeks. We're saying goodbye to Josh for 2 weeks. And then I will say it's all for good reasons. Josh is going on tour in support of his amazing album, and we will miss him for 2 weeks. We are hopefully ahead enough of the game with our podcast episodes that we can do this.
The listeners of How We Made Your Mother will not miss me at all, because we are not missing a week.
This is us pulling back the curtain.
We have banked the episodes. We're gonna, So so as I said to you, future Josh is already back from tour.
He's done with all this.
He did it, and it was a triumph.
How did it go, future Josh?
It was a triumph. Yeah. It started in smaller venues, ended in arenas. That's what I'm putting out there. We just had to adjust and adapt to the insane demand. But past Josh, who's speaking right now, leaves in 2 days and is feeling a little sinusy.
A little excited to go on tour and a little sinusy all at the same time.
I'm excited. Here's the thing. I love when I'm there. I love being on stage. I love the crowd. I love being able to share these songs. I really enjoy the experience of it's so strange to me that I write and perform songs, because I was not doing this when we were making How I Met Your Mother. Like, this was not something I was doing.
Did not play the guitar during How I Met Your Mother.
So
it's amazing what you've done in 10 years.
Picked up this skill and become a songwriter, and I'm not like 18 in a band in a van, like with my buddies. Like, it's an adult tour in that I leave for 2 weeks, I come back for a couple of days, I go out for another 5 days, I come back. So it's civilized.
It's a civilized grown-up middle-aged tour.
But I'm definitely hitting the road, and I'm bringing T-shirts and vinyl. And, I don't have like a team. Like, I'm just lugging this stuff. Actually, I shipped it to Seattle. I'm picking it up in Seattle. And then I'm going to drive part way with friends. And so it'll be, it'll be fun. But I have anticipatory anxiety. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Until you're there, you're not there until you're there, and then
I'm not there till I'm there, and I get very nervous before I go places, and I think about what I need to do beforehand and what could go wrong, and then once I'm there, like I said, I'm a very adaptable creature. I actually like being in new towns. I like meeting new people. I like finding a good spot to have coffee and breakfast. Like, I like all that stuff, but my initial thought, not unlike Ted Mosby, is like, let's stay where we are and keep everything the same. But I think we have a natural human resistance to change. This is what we've been talking about on this show. But
I'm the same way. By the way, my son Elliot listens to the podcast and is just a huge fan of you in general. He's binging How I Met Your Mother. He's listening to your music, Josh. I said Josh is going to go on tour for 2 weeks, and we're not doing the podcast for a couple weeks. And Elliot said, does Josh have an opening band? I said, I don't think so, but who do you think should open for Josh? And he said, Radiohead. I was like, yeah, Radiohead. I think Josh would accept that.
That's unbelievable. But also, I thought he was going to pitch himself.
Yeah, I know. He could do it.
I thought he would go.
Yeah,
I think Elliot Thomas should open for him.
I know. He could totally do it.
But also, that's an unbelievable idea. And Tom York did live. Yeah, he lived not far from me in Los Angeles. So I ran into him. I'd say, hey, you want to? I do have an opener. Her name is Ari Tippy. She's a good friend of mine.
Oh, fantastic.
And then on the East Coast, it's this gal Michaela Ann, who's fantastic, who I've never met, but is a great songwriter.
Well, it sounds to me like you've planned out every part of this trip, Josh, except for one.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Now I'm going to lose sleep that I haven't.
You've walked right into my trap. Josh, what are you doing with your own place while you're on the road?
Well, I'm not doing anything. I can't take it with me. I'm just going to have it sit here.
Josh, we've really...
You're so
feel like you have
condescending.
amnesia.
You're so condescending.
It's like the movie Memento. We have the conversation, it's just gone. You have to tattoo this on your body, Josh.
Okay, tell me. I'm not going to forget this.
When you're away from home,
yeah.
This time, this is going to be the one. I can feel it. When you're on the road, you could be making some extra cash by hosting your place on Airbnb. Boom.
Now I remember.
Walked right into it. Yeah, right?
Now
We've had this conversation multiple times. Here's the other thing I need to say about this. For anybody listening, don't make Josh's mistake. Even if you're on your music tour and it's super fun.
And Radiohead's opening for you.
And Radiohead's opening for you every night. And it's the time of your life. Don't still do something with your place back home. For all of you listening, if you have a trip coming up to or a tour, consider hosting your home on Airbnb while you're away. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
Okay, I want to bend our rules again a little bit and play a lovely clip.
Hey, this is Anna from Chicago. I wanted to reach out about the Duel. When I was in college, I was taking a stage combat class. And for our final scenes, we were doing sword fights. And all of the fights that everyone was choosing, they were all very serious scenes. And I somehow convinced my scene partner to do a scene from How I Met Your Mother in the Duel. And we did the fight between Ted and Marshall. And it might have been one of the strangest final scenes that my professor had ever seen. But I will tell you right now, it was one that definitely got the most laughs. And we had a great time. So this episode means a lot to me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. You know, it's funny.
Could you ever have dreamed this was going to become?
Well, we had to take. We took stage combat at NYU. Like I had, you know, fists and swords, and with J. Stephen White, a great combat choreographer, and so I really did. I did have some training. I mean, here's the decision I made as an actor. I didn't think Ted had any training in swords. Josh Radnor had training in swords. I did it more like kids playing, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, when you're
Good
playing
choice.
and you're 10 years old, but you're like, oh, that was an awesome move. You know, like it probably doesn't look awesome. It feels awesome. It feels like you're really doing something. I just thought it was such a great way to show ostensibly grown men still have the ability to play.
Absolutely.
Like genuinely play in like a silly way.
That's very sweet. That's a very sweet observation. That's why that episode's so great, because those two best friends are fighting and then can't help but play together in the middle of the fight. There's something great about that.
Well, they play, you see them playing video games together.
Yeah.
See, that's what it is. They're trapped like between mortgages and leases and impending marriage and things changing, but there's still this like, you know, I challenge you to a duel kind of energy to them. It's, you know, it's funny. I think you could make the case on every comedy, there's an aspect of it that is about arrested, you know, development. Like, and sometimes it's directly, literally titled. Especially that show. But it's fun to watch. There's something cathartic, I think, to watch people behave in a way they're supposed to have grown out of.
Yes. Because that's the reality of adulthood. That's the dirty secret. But I think I'm stealing your line, but that's the dirty secret of adulthood. I think Josh wrote this in a movie. No one, yeah, that's it, right? Like, I'm curious, how choreographed was that fight? Because I don't remember. I'm sure someone is gonna. I just stole someone's question, but like, were you and Jason like move to move? So did it have to be choreographed like for safety reasons? Like they didn't want you going too off book and like slamming somebody in the eye?
No. It was very the joke about stage combat is people are like, just punch me. Like you don't have to worry about it. Like, no, just really hit me. It's like someone ends up in the hospital. It had to be choreographed. I mean, I think there were some moments that were just like, okay, let's just cross our swords like 5 times, like boom, 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 you know. But the stuff of like hitting and falling backwards and him getting on the table, all that was like really choreographed. Yeah. I like the moment where you fall back into the chair and you're like, he's okay. I know, up on the table and the table breaking. I've watched it. And I went, I wish Marshall was the one that glued the table together wrong rather than the fucking architect. Why did we throw the architect under the bus for the bad table assembly? I was like, that should have been Marshall. It should have been his karma.
It should have been his karma, but I love the flashback that informs why the table breaks. It's that whole sequence was a total delight. You guys the two.
I always liked Ted had to do a number of like horrified looks where you don't show what happens, you just get what happens from Ted's horrified face.
There are a lot of those. Even in these first 8 episodes, there's a couple of them. It's not just this one. Yeah. Lily getting run through with a sword is pretty great. I love that duel. The duel between you guys. That is a moment when I think we as the writers went like, we've got to get as much Josh and Jason together as we can.
Well, there's also it draws up the storyline of like Lily's the adult of the 3. Yeah. And she's the one who suffers the consequence of their like being idiots.
She's like, "Are you arguing the extent to which you stabbed me?" Right. And I love it. You have a great moment where Ted is Marshall says in the waiting room in the hospital, "I can't believe I stabbed my fiance." And you have this amazing performance of a fine joke, but you made it great. That was essentially, "Come on, Marshall. Do you really think she's still your fiance?" Right. It's such a great mislead. The way you played it was so good. It was like Rebecca and I were watching that. It was like a full laugh out. That was the loudest laugh of the entire episode. I think was that joke. Yeah, in my living room.
So the one take that a lot of people had on this episode was less about the friendship and the growing up and making the decisions between your friends and then they get married and what changes, but about the notion of the apartment that is important to you, of the land, the place that means something to you. Because Lily goes through losing hers, and now Ted or Marshall is potentially losing theirs. And so I'll just read a couple of questions on this topic. You can take it as you will. Nigel_Leong07 says, at the start of the episode, Ted mentions how there's one apartment in particular that will always be theirs. So the question is there a building that you've spent time at that you would call your own, not including your house, obviously? Oh, that's interesting. And why? And then Kenny freaking Sage says, what were your first apartments like? Any mementos like Shockey or the swords that you've carried with you through the years? And finally, Liam Doyley 44 says, did Craig and Carter have something in their lives similar to the swords where they were important mementos for their time in New York City? So a place or an object that were meaningful to you growing up or now?
It's a great question. Great questions, plural.
You know, this makes me think of, I've always been very sentimental about houses, apartments. Like, even if I remember when I got How I Met Your Mother, I was subletting my friend Megan's apartment from college. It was $750 a month. It was a 1-bedroom, like a couple blocks from Cantor's Deli, right? Like it was like right by LACMA and that whole area. It was a great place to live. Actually, I really loved that apartment, and my best friends lived across the street. So it was really felt like I had community, and I had, and you know, we were going into season 2, and it was kind of like, I don't know that I need to. I can certainly afford a little more than a $750 month apartment. But my friend David had just kind of like redone it for me while I was away one summer, and I came back and it was really spiffed up. But I bought this really lovely house about 10, 12 minutes away, and I remember being devastated that I had to leave this $750 a month apartment with yellow walls. And my friend Megan had a swing in it. Like, it was weird. It was a weird apartment. I think David took the swing down. But it was a weird apartment, but it was my apartment. And I had a lot of great memories there. Yeah. And I can weave myself into any place. Like, I'm quite an adaptable creature. Like, I'm selling my house in LA right now because I live in New York. And I went through a real grieving process. I'm over it, but I went through a real grieving process when I realized I just wasn't going to have this house forever. I love this house. I love where it is. I love the hikes I go on when I walk out my front door. But I will say what I think is the root. This is really going back into the childhood. We lived in a little town called Berwick in Columbus, Ohio until 4th grade when we moved to the house my parents still live in Bexley. In 4th grade, I remember my dad, we were packing up the house in Berwick. My dad and my 2 sisters had gone on, they were gone. So it was my mom and I had the final push to get out of the house, the lock the keys, and the final pull away. And I wasn't feeling particularly emotional about this. I was just like, I know my family's coming with me. We get in the car, my mom closes the door and she burst into tears. Because it was like their first house, the house where her kids were born, Oh, yeah. So she bursts into tears. And then because I am looking to my mom for cues and clues about how to behave, I burst into tears. So we're sitting in the front seat just weeping over this house. And I think that, like, I just in that moment learned, like, you mourn a house, like you get sad a little bit and then you move on. But I do think there's something very special in particular about, I have a song, I'll send this to you, on Eulogy Volume 2 called Real Good House, which is about the house I left the $750 a month apartment to move into. And I lived there for 14 years. Yeah. And then moved to this other house. And I wrote a song called Real Good House that is like a love song to a house. Yeah. Whoever wrote this, go to Eulogy Volume 2, Josh Radner, listen to Real Good House, because it is literally a love song about real estate.
This old house, this good old house, this loving mass of brick and stone.
It's a love song about a house. And I think I'm really keyed into personally just like loving spaces. Yeah. And feeling that there's something holy. Once you've inhabited a space for a while and had enough life happen in a space and woke up enough and gone to sleep enough in a space and felt the tides of life roll through a space enough, it's very hard to not associate yourself with that space. And it's very hard to not mourn that space when you leave it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I mean, my meta answer to this question for me is, I was just thinking about what Stage 22 was to us all on the Fox lot, where we shot 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother. And that feeling of when you, not only is it leaving somewhere, but you're going, someone else is going to come in here. There's going to be some other TV show that they'll be like, that's our stage 22. It's like, no, that's our stage. But it's the circle of life. And it's the same thing with houses, right? I mean, Carter and I had a couple of apartments in New York that were sort of like, we had this one on 75th Street. That was kind of what we imagined was the Marshall and Ted apartment in a way, although it didn't bear tons of resemblance to it really in the design. It was kind of like that would have been it. And yeah, I remember letting go of that apartment to sort of go, like, I was getting married and Carter but I wasn't leaving the apartment to get married or to move into an apartment with my wife yet. I hadn't gotten there yet. But I remember the feeling of moving out from Carter. I had lived with Carter for a few years after college, writing for Letterman, and we're just these idiots in our 20s. Me, the bigger idiot, because Carter had provided, as I learned when I moved, the day I moved downtown to the West Village, it was from the Upper West Side to my own place in the West Village. The movers brought in everything, and that was only then did I realize how little furniture I had. And how much of it had been Carter's. So that really didn't occur to me till we got there. And I was like, oh, I don't have a couch. I guess I'll just sit in this one chair. Yeah. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, God, I'm really immature. I'm really like I'm just a kid still in some way. I'm like, there's not all that stuff. Where did that go? It was Carter's things. And he took it to his new apartment. So he was clearly more together than I was. And I had to quickly go out and buy all this furniture because I was like, oh, it just didn't magically appear here. Yeah. But yeah, those places in your 20s, they have a kind of meaning. And those, you'll never live quite like that again. And yeah, I think that one on 75th Street for Carter and I would be like that's the Marshall and Ted apartment.
And also, it occurs to me that in the grand, if you really zoom up and take in the grand perspective, like there's no such thing as a home forever, like a forever home. They will, they'll all go away. I mean, at some point, you're probably going to want to move into a home that doesn't have stairs. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to adapt your notion of what home is. Like,
yes.
Like I try not to talk too much about my relationship on here, but it comes up. But I had this feeling about Jordana when I was falling in love with her, and that I was pretty sure we were going to get married. Is she had this feeling that I knew wherever we went, it would feel like home. Yeah. Like us together felt like home, not the structure of wherever we were.
That's it. That's all home can ever be, I think, really, right? And that needs to be a movable feast, to go all Hemingway about it. It will have to travel.
And you need sometimes, I mean, hopefully not for horrifying geopolitical reasons, but sometimes you got to pick up and go. Sometimes you got to it's where you get a job, or we have to be adaptable enough. And again, this comes back to this notion of we're kind of fusing the two great themes that we've talked about in the Duel episodes, right? Yeah. But this notion of change being this constant force, resisting it, but also getting it will win. It will always win. Yes, and then this notion of home being not quite a permanent thing. Although, one of the things that people always get upset about, if you live in New York City and then you watch shows about New York City, that the apartments are too big for the income bracket of the people living in them. Yeah. There's a Peter Hedges movie that our friend Katie Holmes starred in called Pieces of April, which if you haven't seen that movie is a fantastic movie.
I remember loving that movie. Yeah.
Patty Clarkson, Oliver Platt, John Gallagher, Alison Pill, great movie. The apartment in there is I don't know how they filmed it. And the reason that you can't have super small apartments is because you can't fit a whole film.
It's really hard to shoot in. Yeah.
It's really hard to shoot. So, but they made that apartment look very small and very appropriate. But there is something about this Upper West Side apartment in 2005 that I do buy, that through some real estate miracle stroke of luck in New York City, they would have been able to get something. Yeah,
it's not completely implausible. And the way we tended to it too, it's a little bigger maybe than what they could have got. But we said to our wonderful set designer who won multiple Emmys, Steve Olson, we said, it's probably still going to be a little too big. Let's not make it crazy big. I know it has to be a little big to shoot in and for logistics, but let's scuff it up. Let's have the paint be not perfect and bright and amazing, and not look like a set for a Hollywood show being shot in Los Angeles about New York.
I don't remember what season it was, but I don't think this was a set design thing, but there was a screw that was sticking out of the door, and everyone kept like nicking their thumb on it. And we had to keep asking them to screw it in because everyone was getting injured on the, because you bust in and out of those doors so fast.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's really funny. I don't think I ever knew that detail.
I just want to say, by the way, that Steve Olson is a listener to this show. He comments.
Steve-o.
He comments on Instagram.
Steve Olson, the great Steve Olson.
I don't think it was Steve's fault. The Aaron screw on the door. That was not him.
Yeah. Steve is great. Steve lived in New York, and he lived in New York for a lot of years too. And he actually lived right next to the Late Show with David Letterman studio, like the Ed Sullivan Theater, and knew when we said we want to make McLaren's kind of like the Bar McGee's. Have you been there? And he said, I've been there 10,000 times. I lived right around the corner from there. He was even featured on a Dave Letterman Meet the Neighbors segment. You know how Dave would just send his camera around? They knocked on Steve Olson's door, and Steve was on Late Show with Dave Letterman, talking to Dave down in the studio on the camera. So when we said we were trying to hire a set designer, the fact that Steve knew the bars, yep, the murals, the red boots, I know exactly what you're talking about. So it was kind of one of those destiny moments when we met Steve. So shout out to Steve Olson. And one of the many amazing people that came to create the universe of Himium.
All right. Well, thank you all so much again. Great questions everywhere. Send them to YouTube and Instagram and on our website, howwemade.your mother/contact. And we'll see you next time.
I am guilty, please acquit me. All sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show is produced by me, Alec Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's newsletters on Substack. Read Craig Thomas's published prose at craigthomaswriter.com. And you can subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures, marketing provided by Tink Media. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you or just New York City?